I will count us down.
In three.
No, okay. चल तू कर दे.
लो कर लो. Good.
नहीं नहीं मैं पहले व्यू भी ठीक कर लूँ. Um, okay. We are set to go in 3, 2, 1. Sometime it's cramp, sometime I acting. This is the 33rd episode of the King Pair podcast, and we're joining you from Lahore, and we're joining you from Washington. And speaking of Washingtons, there were a few last night. So, first of all, we have Kumail Jafri joining us from Washington. Any thoughts on the tons yesterday?
यार मुझे तो एक ही बहुत अच्छा लगा था. फिर I mean अब्दुल्ला शफीक वाला भी अच्छा था.
Hmm.
But हाँ, I think Rizwan was naturally the highlight of everything.
And yeah, of course, of course. There was a lot of batting when it comes to Sri Lanka side as well. Let's go over that first. Pakistan did have like a historic chase of
Yeah.
344 runs,
I mean,
biggest in the
historic
World
not
Cup.
only for
And
them but for like the entire world, right? It's a record
yep,
in the
yep,
World
yep.
Cups.
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. And right before this chase went down, there was a stat going about that said that Pakistan is the only team to have not hit a six in the first 10 overs. I think this year. So does that matter anymore?
I think
Um,
that's good.
I mean,
Um, I think that's
everybody's
good.
talking about the sixes. Nobody's talking about the fours. I think that's
Yeah.
just as
I
important.
actually think that that's good cricket. Um,
Mm,
because Sri Lanka played brilliantly. There's no doubt about it.
mm,
And our bowlers, I mean, there's not much they could do on that pitch. I think it's just one of those things. And we can talk about how it's going to be a difficult tournament for any bowler. Um, but kudos to Sri Lanka as well. I would say they thought that they had this in the bag. They made a great comeback after that battering
mm.
uh, from South Africa, and it felt like, I mean, I didn't watch the match live. I was in the air, but I did watch like a
So was the ball.
more, yeah, for quite
Yeah.
time during the match. But I did see the highlights, and I was thinking, ball by ball nahi thi, lekin they like were still quite comprehensive because for that moment when they were really on the attack और कुछ 3 विकेटें गिरी थी वो scud रहे थे.
Mm, mm.
I really thought that the match was done. Like
Yeah.
even
Yeah.
like at the start of our innings, they won 36. When
For
the
two.
score was 36 for 2, I thought कि हम हार जाएंगे और फिर uh, dropped catches I think really mattered, and I would argue perhaps controversially that or maybe not controversially. I haven't looked at the discourse around this match. Lekin if those 2 or 3 catches would have been caught by Sri Lanka, तो
Mm,
या कोई अच्छी टीम होती तो मेरा ख्याल है हम हार जाते ये मैच.
mm, mm.
That's not to take away from the great batting we had, लेकिन it was just poor fielding. Um, आप they were lucky. We can talk about some plans. I liked their plan against South Shakil. Simple plan था उनको पता है कि वो ऑफ साइड पे लॉब करता है तो they had two main fielders. Deep cover था कि उधर
Mm,
फेंकेगा या
mm,
थर्ड मैन था कि अगर एज हो गया तो उधर चली जाएगी. And then they also got pace off from the ball, which meant कि you would flight the ball toward the offside and you will expect him to not make it through the boundary. So that was an efficient plan. They got 2 catches that they dropped. और फिर मेरे ख्याल है तीसरा उन्होंने लिया था उसका. But they had some good plans over there.
mm.
They just could not find another breakthrough when they needed to. Um, and I think we just showed how brilliantly we play spin even now.
Wow. Yeah, I can, and just on that, I can tell how lagged you are because you sound like Bazid Khan right now, and
In fact,
and
it's
that's
going
and that's a
to,
compliment, and that's a compliment.
yeah, obviously, Aegysonian man.
Yeah,
He
a man
belongs
of
from a
high
great
power
family.
and connections. Um,
Yes.
you've given a good, I think, summary of what happened. Um, and but let's just go through the emotions of and the ups and downs of the entire match. Now Sri Lanka came to bat on what was like perhaps the best wicket we've seen in the
Mm.
last 4 or 5 times Pakistan's played in Hyderabad. So Sri Lanka coming into bat, I think it was for me it was like advantage Pakistan because on such great batting pitches where it will arguably get better to bat.
Yeah.
Um, it's always better to know what you're chasing.
Mm.
And we've seen that, but I think the way Sri Lanka started, Hassan Ali had a early breakthrough, and I think at that point, like it was in the warm up matches, we started to think, okay, is this Hassan Ali redemption time?
Yeah.
And I would say it was. He bowled really well in the Netherlands match, and I would say he was definitely the best bowler today as well. Having said that, Nisanka uh, played a solid innings, 51 of 61. But now you look at it in retrospect, maybe not that great. Looking at the pitch that they were playing on, but Kusal Mendes from the other end, who was dropped on 20 or by on off the bowling of Shaheen by Imamul Haq at point, went on to score 122 of 77, six sixes, 14
Yeah.
fours. I think this was at one point between overs 21 and 30, where they scored 100 something runs in 10 overs in that middle phase. I think it seemed like he'd completely taken the game away from us. And once Hassan Ali got his wicket, I think his wicket and then Asalanka in back to back. That's the point where we actually started to come back into the game, 30 overs into it.
Yeah.
Samra Vikrama, who Vakar Yunus thought, this name is certainly not long enough, so he called him Samra Vikrama Singh, or something of that sort.
Oh.
Um, which I don't know. Maybe that's the Indian way of referring to, or the Bharati way. We don't know at the moment, but he went on to score a very solid 100 of 89, 80 something deliveries, 108 of 89. Um, but I think from that point onwards, it did seem like Sri Lanka, even with 344 on the board, were a bit short. And at some point, I was definitely thinking 400, and they were going at 7.5 until the 40th over. You'd think in the last 10 overs they'd be able to get at least 100, but yeah, they weren't able to do that. And I think at that point, Pakistan felt they had the momentum, and even though I think just as a Pakistani supporter, we suffer from the trauma of never chasing anything. I think we'd never chased anything above 260, 265 in a World Cup game before this. And that's big. And we've
Yeah.
seen the era of Misbah, we've seen the era of Sarfraz where we've not been able to chase anything. But this is not that team. This is Babar Azam Pakistan. This is,
Especially with Babar not batting or
yeah,
performing in this match. I mean, if you
it's
if
insane.
you were to tell me that Pakistan will chase 344 down against Sri Lanka, which is a decent side, you would naturally think that Babar would have scored like 1,500 runs or something, you
Mhm.
know. But to know that he's just scored 10 of those and
Yep.
yet we were able to chase down that target really speaks to the comprehensiveness that our batting has developed over the years, especially the past 1 2 years. Some good Test cricketers coming into ODIs and performing, Abdullah Shafique, namely,
South
and
India.
Sarfaraz getting his form, South Shakil, correct. You really also see first class experience coming into play. And I think it's a very similar pitch to what you find in Pakistan, especially this pitch that they were playing on, the way the ball was spinning, and I think they backed themselves up. They were confident that they would be able to chase this down,
Yep.
and they had good plans. They executed it well, and they were just not afraid to come out and say, "Okay, look, we've lost to Sri Lanka in an all-important match a month ago, but we won't let this affect us." And I think that's a huge thing to achieve.
Yeah, I mean, at the end of the first innings, again, Hassan Ali, again, we have to
The Hassan Ali,
the Hassan Ali. got four big wickets, and those two of them came, one of them at the top, and then two of them at a point which turned the game around in the last 20 overs. But yeah, I mean, at the end of the first innings, there was, I mean, you know, there's that added World Cup pressure जिसकी वजह से बहुत सी teams chase नहीं कर पाती, and I think at that point I did feel like, well, this is over. And you know, I started to imagine all those scenarios where, um, okay, we've lost this game and now we need to do a comeback already before the second innings has
Yes.
even started. I mean, I'd kind of given up. And then when our batting started, once Imam actually for the 12th or 13th time got out to a short ball, which is quite alarming because it just seems like teams have figured him out at least. Abdullah
And we've
Shafiq
seen him
was.
practice short balls in the net
We've seen
live.
him, yeah, yeah, and it was funny because he got out to Nathan Lyon, and he thought that immediately after working on the bouncer would get him ready for the next game. Uh,
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know. Imam is struggling, and it seems like the short ball, surprisingly, in India is working against him. As soon as Babar Azam got out, I think the hopes of many people died. Uh, Mohammad Rizwan, Abdullah Shafiq excluded. I think everybody outside of that dressing room did feel
Yeah.
that. At that point, when once Babar Azam lost his wicket, I had to go for therapy, and at that moment where I was sitting in that room waiting for my therapist to come in, I was very conflicted between my feelings because there was that sinking feeling that Pakistan has lost this match, and the
Yeah.
sinking feeling of the general depression which
Yeah.
man goes through.
And
Uh,
that point, it's very difficult to figure out
yeah,
whether you want to discuss your childhood or you want to discuss Babar getting out in therapy because you're paying a lot of money for that 1 hour.
yeah.
And which one is more worth it is just a difficult decision to make.
Yeah, I think for the most part of that hour or 50 minutes or whatever, um, I kind of had to forget that there was even a match happening at that moment. And you know, there are times where you kind of zone out, and you know, at that times you would kind of wonder, oh, you know, maybe once I get out of here, we'll have a decent score.
Yeah.
And I mean, at the back of your mind, that Australia game is playing, that ODI in which we chased around 350. So, um, yeah, I think that gave that glimmer. But I think that 50 minutes with my therapist was extremely difficult for me personally. Um,
That's
the moment I
beautiful.
Yeah, that it is. That's what Pakistan cricket is all about.
Yeah.
Um, well, once I got out, I see Abdullah Shafiq, Mohammad Rizwan still batting, and I run home. Run home quite literally
Run,
because
Shabi.
yep, ran on the roads. And even though it hurt my knees, I kept on going like the king himself. So Abdullah Shafiq, Mohammad Rizwan. I mean, words run out at how good some of the shots Abdullah Shafiq played were. He
Yes.
took on the attack before Rizwan eventually went on to finish it. Um, I think some of the shots were just crazy. And the good thing, and what we see in these pitches is that they didn't really have to do anything. What do we say? Baseball kind of shit. You know, there were no scoops, there were no reverse scoops or whatever shots. It was just hitting the ball hard, hitting
Good.
it straight to the boundary, and yeah, it was going really really quick. Um, I mean, shout out to South Shakil, 31 of 30. I think read the situation really well, and then if the car to come off and finish it at 22 of 10. Um, and that's they've chased it 10 balls before the 50 overs, so that's just unbelievable. I think one place where there were two moments which you pointed out, and I just want to give a bit more enriched some, you know, those moments for all our viewers. So one of them was the three drop catches. Now the funny thing is, each time a catch or an opportunity came up and was dropped, Ramiz Raja had just entered the com box.
Obviously.
So obviously that had to happen, and it was just luck, perhaps, that those were not caught. Um, the second moment, what was the second moment?
I don't remember. I'm assuming another
Ah,
drop
yes.
catch uncovered.
No, no, no. Oh, no, no. Oh, no, no. The second moment. Now, this is a big, big issue, and I think we saw this in the last game with Sri Lanka as well. Were the extras?
The
They're
free
bowling
bees.
too many of freebies. And 25 wides is insane. 25 wides is insane. I saw like at least two or three 5 wides. So I think at critical moments and at critical moments, even someone like Mahesh Theekshana, who was their strike bowler, came in his last over and the keeper missed one down the leg side and it went for five. So I mean, 25 runs is crazy. That's not only the 30-40 runs they were already short, but add that on, and it's quite shocking to see how
Patirana
indisciplined
also, I
he
think,
was.
has this tendency, specifically him, that if he starts bowling wides, then he just continues to do that. I was watching um, the South Africa match as well, and I saw that, once he got struck for a four or a six, he would just continue to concede these free Bs.
Mhm.
And I mean, that's a huge problem because the last thing you want after getting hit for a six is to give runs without it counting as another ball and having to
Yeah.
bowl a longer over, especially if you're not in form. All you want to do in that over is to get it through and over with. But I mean, if you can't do that, then it's a real problem. Uh, and I think problems persist for Sri Lanka, and they'll have to do a deeper dive into how these things are going.
Yeah, I think Mahesh Pathirana is another one. A lot of freebies and 5 wides. I think he gave away two of the 5 wides, and just generally a lot of wides. 9 wides in his 9 overs went for 90. So I mean that's a big concern for Sri Lanka, and I mean it's going to take a hit. They've gone for 428 in the first match. They've not been able to defend 344. Um, I think that might just be their downfall in the tournament. They've struggled to really get going. They've had injuries, and I mean, it's a very young team. Their bowling lineup is very young, and even then, I think they've put up a fight with the bat. So, uh,
Yeah.
good for them. Let's come back to the real fighter of the day, and I think that was Mohammad Rizwan. Now, I don't know, you weren't really able to catch this live, but I think
मैंने देखा था वो जो गिर गया था शॉट
yeah, yeah,
मार
yeah.
के.
But that's the moment. There's an entire build up to that moment, and even in the comms box, it was Haydos, it was uh, Ramiz and Simon Dool, I believe, and they're all enjoying it. They're all enjoying it. I think they saw the act as well, but which Rizwan confirmed later. But I think just it seemed like such a typical Rizwan innings. We've seen so many of them. We've seen him kind of get hit by the ball. We've seen him fall over while keeping. We've seen him dive while running and break his ankle. He's broken everything, I think, in the game. And then 2 minutes later, he's out there running. He's not even just running; he's getting the quickies. He's getting quickies. So and then he's going for biggies as well, and then falling over. So I mean, this is he's beating himself up. There was a point where he started smashing his thigh for a good 2 minutes, and I think that was a sight for everyone,
And
as
he
it was
just
for
emerges as a bad boy who punishes the other side.
yeah,
So,
yeah.
um, what's he on about with all that piety? I don't know because he clearly doesn't show any of that on the field.
Yeah, I think I that's very true, and and it's almost like a what do you call a power move where he's going in and beating himself up before the team can even think of beating him up.
Yeah, like he's
He's a
like
small
wasn't
man.
it that I told my team today that they'll be cornered tigers, so they're
Yeah,
beating themselves up before they come into the
yeah.
match.
I bet Imran Khan beat them all up before the
Yeah,
match.
yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
वो गाड़ी भी लेके भाग जाता था लोगों की.
Hmm. Hmm.
Uh,
The
I
Aussie.
would like to bring attention to another match that I think just concluded.
Oh yeah.
Um, India Afghanistan, and that was that has also been crazy because the other team that's been doing really well is India, and
Yeah.
they have chased down 272 in just 35 overs, um, which
Yeah.
is
And
absolutely.
Rohit Sharma beat Kapil Dev's record of the fastest ODI 100 in World Cups. I mean, is there any ODI record he doesn't hold at this point? Rohit Sharma is dangerous.
I'm assuming for India, right?
Yes, for India. Kapil Dev played for India.
No, like the record was for
The
India,
record
not
was
like
for, yeah, the record also is for India. Um,
uh okay, so yeah, Virat Kohli also 55, 56. I mean, he has been like Rizwan like figure during this tournament where he has played that anchor role.
yeah.
Um and he's made sure that the match he sees the match to the end. I'm glad Rohit Sharma played and performed because there were a lot of questions about him not doing well, and this will surely give him confidence. Going into uh, the Saturday match, October 14th, when these two teams will clash, they're both going to be coming from a place of confidence, and it's going to be a really tough battle. I don't want anyone to think that's going to be easy or one sided just because India is playing at their home ground or they're that good, but precisely because we've also performed really, really well in the past two matches, especially in this one. And I think it's like finally we'll figure out who the better side is in this tournament. Um, we can also take a look at the rankings if you enable participant screen
I
sharing
will
and you can show off a bit of your power.
I will
Um,
enable it. I will enable it as I've
many
enabled
of your
many other
fans do.
things. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, sure. Go ahead.
Okay,
Show
so
us the stats. Show us the
let
stats.
us look at the points table now.
Yeah.
Okay, so we have New Zealand with a whopping 1.95 net run rate. Both those matches they've won. One against England quite comprehensively, and the other against I'm not sure. I keep
Netherlands.
forgetting.
99 runs all. Yep.
Yeah. Then we have India, who has won against Australia unbelievably easily, and
Yep.
Afghanistan today. And then we have Pakistan, Netherlands, and Sri Lanka. And then we have South Africa, who beat, I want to say, Sri Lanka um, by quite a margin as well. And these are the teams that have incurred no loss so far. Um, so the favorites, so to speak, Australia, England, or the Western favorites, the white favorites, call them whatever you want to.
White supremacists.
Bold claim, but I will not be surprised if they were. Um, are sort of off to a shaky start. Bangladesh has won one match. What have who have they won against?
Afghanistan.
Afghanistan, yeah. So that really doesn't show a lot. I'm waiting for England to make a comeback. I'm not sure who their next fixture is with. We can actually check what's coming forward. Um,
It's New Zealand, Bangladesh tomorrow. I think that's going to be a pretty good match since New Zealand is kind of and Australia, South Africa. So there's two tomorrow. No, there's
yeah,
one.
but I mean, so
There's
New
one.
Zealand is
But
going to
these
get
are the
its
two
third.
important matches. Uh,
Um, I think that's an easy prediction. Uh, and that's going to be a huge advantage because then from India and Pakistan, one has to lose, right? So that just means that New Zealand, if they win against Afghanistan, which is quite probable, will be on the top of the table, especially if they get a good enough margin. And then we'll have India or Pakistan sort of being there. Who does South Africa play against?
Australia.
Um, yeah, so that,
That's
yeah,
going to
so
be a
to,
big game. Huge
yeah,
game. They
that
just lost to them 2-1 in a series. But it was big runs in that series. और बहुत मजा आएगा मेरे ख्याल से इस मैच का काफ़ी important होगा for Australia. And il- I think Australia is at the back foot right now. Um,
agreed.
Not
I
just because they lost the match, but I think their team combination looks very off to me right now. They don't have a spinner. They just don't. Maxwell, I believe, is out.
Kohli there?
Ashton Agar is out. They're thinking of bringing Nathan Lyon back. Zampa is in horrible form. So
Sounds like us. Sounds like our team.
yeah,
Uh,
I mean, yeah, but then the conditions don't favor them either. So
yeah.
I think Australia might struggle a lot to get even in the top four of this tournament with teams like
I
New
feel
Zealand,
like
with teams like
I feel like South
uh,
Africa is going to win this match, and
yeah, yeah,
um,
I do.
that will just and if they do, then that will just mean it's New Zealand, South Africa, and then
Yeah, I think South
something
Africa
else.
has Maharaj. South Africa has Shamsi if they want to bring him in. He's fantastic.
Yeah.
And left arm leggies. I mean, they're
Their
what
batting
two
is
in the
just crazy.
international
I
circuit,
mean, their batting is just. I
and
mean,
their
it's
batting.
like
Yeah, yeah,
10 AB de
fantastic.
Villiers playing in that team. It just
Yeah,
feels
yeah,
like that the last time they played Sri Lanka.
yeah, yeah,
Um, yeah. So it's going to be New Zealand, I think South Africa. If South Africa loses, then it's very simple, the equation, because then in the top two you'll have New Zealand and then either India or Pakistan. Um, but if Pakistan loses and then South Africa loses, or India loses and then South Africa loses to Australia, then that means everything is in the mix there,
mm,
because everyone will have a match that they've lost, and it won't be as comprehensive as it seems right now. Um,
yeah.
but for South Africa, Australia, let's do predictions. I think South Africa should win
South
this match.
Africa takes it for me too.
Let's
Um,
go.
I think the big game. And for New Zealand, Bangladesh, I think naturally New Zealand they have a really good spinner in Santner, and just a phenomenal batting lineup. So
Mhm.
yeah, I
Okay,
don't think
and
there's much holding
Pakistan.
them back. The big one is, of course, at Ahmedabad. Pakistan team has arrived there. Um, I think it's going to be big. I think it's going to be insane to see like how the stadium fills up. I think uh, it also almost feels like, do we have to play them like, we've played them so much over the last year, and it's gotten to the point where it's almost exhausting to watch another one. Because I mean, the entire match is a moment, um, and it's moment after moment where even if you're losing or even if you're winning, you're getting drained by every moment that's occurring.
Yeah,
Unless you don't watch the match, of course, which you definitely shouldn't do. I don't know. It's I'm lost for words, and the reason is that this has never happened before. It's like that MCG moment where Pakistan played India in the T20 World Cup, but bigger. I think it doesn't get bigger than in India in their largest stadium, where let's just say the sentiment is a bit skewed
yeah.
um,
Uh,
politically.
I I would rate India higher when it comes to bowling.
Yeah,
They have been amazing. Bumrah picked four today
yeah,
again,
yeah.
again, not again, bro, but
Again,
he performed well again,
again.
and uh, that's a bad sign because our bowlers are not picking up wickets like that. At least
Mm.
our base attack. Rove picks up the tailenders. Hassan Ali stops the runs. Picks up one odd, but Shaheen picked up one today, I think,
Shaheen's
right?
been struggling. He got one, but his pace is quite down, and we found out why. So
Yeah,
Shoaib Malik revealed that in the Asia Cup, he did have a pull a ligament in his finger.
yeah,
So it's perhaps more difficult for him to grip the ball and flick it like he does. And that's concerning. And the thing is, India's a big match. You can't drop him there. You need him even at like 80%. He's still
yeah,
your best fast bowler. And next match is Australia, another big match. Perhaps you can kind of rest him in the Afghanistan match, but I don't think they'll do that. I think they should. They probably won't. But knowing our history versus Afghanistan, but
yeah.
yeah, I think it's going to be a very difficult couple of matches for Pakistan, even against Australia, even at their worst, perhaps, or even at Australia is a tough team to beat. They'll make you work,
Yeah.
and but the India Pakistan game, it's just going to be, I think, one of the greatest moments in cricket, and I think the BCCI realized that, which is why the opening ceremony will happen on the day of the India Pakistan match, which
Really?
is insane.
Oh wow. Yeah, I thought they were going without one because
Yeah,
I
apparently they were,
think
but this is a late announcement. So Arijit Singh will be performing alongside no one, but Amitabh Bachchan will be there and a few other notable figures from India. No one from Pakistan, they're not issuing visas, so that's a problem. Speaking of
that's
visas,
smart.
speaking of Pakistanis in India, one has
What's
made
it?
been made to or been asked to leave India, Zainab Abbas, after some very inappropriate comments or
Comment,
tweets came
I
up.
could not find out what the comment was.
Uh, let's just say it was something about some Hindu ritual,
What
which
him?
I mean,
Like, what did she say?
I can't repeat that tweet. I don't have it off, and I don't want to end up sounding like I made it up, and that's what I'm saying. But I think it was just an insensitive
What was
tweet.
the
It was a
implication? Like, it was insensitive to
to
the
their
Hindu religion.
rituals, yeah, saying that, oh, these are such foolish rituals. You prayed for to a cow,
Uh,
kind of thing,
wow. Okay.
or something
Damn.
about the Kali Mata. It's so like
Uh,
I mean, why don't you delete them before? Uh, I mean,
yeah.
it's ridiculous as well. Like I feel like they need to have better PR teams, who should kind of dig deep and delete any tweet from before they were born even. Because these kind of things come up in especially in moments like these. So she's had to return from
But
India.
this was an old tweet.
Very old tweet.
Oh, so it's an old tweet that resurfaced.
Yeah, yeah.
And that's why she got cancelled in India. That's interesting.
Pretty much. They were like, we can't
Okay.
provide you security beyond what you have. Um, so they preferred that she left, and of course this kind of heatens up or the existing the politics
Atmosphere.
between and the atmosphere between the Pakistan and India, especially. I mean, for the fans, perhaps not for the players, but for the fans going into this match means a lot more because that's how they're going to channel their political sentiment, and that's at least for the Pakistanis. They feel like they'll feel like they've kind of been made to um, kind of face barriers at every point by the Indian government, which arguably is true as well. Pakistani fans and journalists still aren't there. They're taking messages in press conference through WhatsApp, uh, which is quite embarrassing. And then they're also having this opening ceremony right before the Pakistan India match in the Modi Stadium. Um, yeah, I think that'll leave a bad. I mean, some of the netizens, as they call them, said that if a white country did this with, let's say, Australia and England playing, and they were like, "Oh well, we're gonna have an opening ceremony right before our game, but like fuck you all before us." This is
Yeah.
where the World Cup starts. I think.
I mean, I like the attention that
Would
we're
it be
getting.
called racist? I'd probably call
Yeah.
it racist.
I mean, I like the attention we're getting. So
I don't mind it. I think this is also kind of getting
this is
back
when the
at
World
them.
Cup starts.
This is where the World Cup starts. Like Australia, England, New Zealand. None of these countries matter. They're white. It's when the two brown neighbors start playing each other, who actually, in some sense, were not fully colonized, at least in their um, color, I guess, um, whatever that means. Um, so I think it's a big fuck you to all the white teams out there, and
Yeah.
letting them know, yeah, this is the pinnacle of cricket, not the fucking MCC and Lords.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Final words.
No.